Alright, so today I'm going to trim bowls. I'm going to start with a round rimmed one and then move on to an altered rim one so you can see how you kind of have to work a little differently with them, using my Giffin Grip and the bison tool and also this little square tool. So first you have this kind of big chunky area on the bowl from when you threw and you left extra here in order for it not to collapse. So we're going to get that off first. Again, I'm doing the same technique when I was trimming a mug, where I have a finger on the pot, one here to hold it steady, it's balanced in my hand. This elbow is kind of jammed in my side, and I've got a finger on here, one on my hand, one on the tool, and one on the pot. These things hurt when you hit your hand against them. I tend to do this initial part pretty quick, have the wheel spinning pretty fast, but I don't necessarily recommend doing that in the beginning until you get comfortable. Also, the clay kind of whips you. So I'm kind of just starting off by trimming the outside of the wall to thin it up. Eventually, the idea is that I'm going to have it mimic the inside of the bowl. So it's important to kind of take a look at the inside contour, there's the word, before you put it down on the bat so that you can make sure it matches. Otherwise, you'll have a part of the wall that's super thick and then another part that's really thin where the contour on the inside and the outside don't match. So I'm just putting the tool down and shaving the clay off and then going back in and smoothing out that line. And then similarly, when I did the mug earlier, I'm using that feathering technique I was talking about to get that line off. But like I was saying, if you're using a rounded tool, it doesn't usually do that as much. I have a hard time with these rounded tools now that I've been using this tool. I just feel like it compresses the clay rather than actually cutting it off. So I don't really use those as much. And I had a bison tool that was rounded, but I dropped it. Okay, so once I get the foot ring kind of delineated separate from the pot, I kind of decide where I want the foot to be. This is going to be more of a like a plate bowl serving, so I don't really want it to have a narrow foot. It's not really decorative. I want it to be functional, so I'm going to try to keep this as wide as possible. So I'm going to come in here, same thing, fingers, finger here, finger here, finger here. This one's here. This one's jammed into my side. And I'm going to put a ring so that I can see where this foot ring is going to be. Then I'm going to kind of try to just bring this in a little bit. Make the angle from the foot going down to the pot. I gotta figure out what angle that is. It's like, this would be a right angle. It's more like this. Maybe like a, I don't know. You can see there's been some chattering happening here. That's happening because the pot, once I got down a little bit underneath that first layer of clay, was really wet. Not too wet to trim, but just wet enough to where it's kind of sticking. So I'm going to just go slower there and really try to hold that tool straight. Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of an undercut so my tool's getting held like this. I want to make sure I have a foot that can catch glaze, although this bowl's just going to get glazed and clear, so it doesn't need to have too much of an angle. I'm going to round it out a little bit. And it's one continuous motion. I'm starting there and just rounding around. I start here, come out, And this part, I don't mind that line there. It'll go away. I'm just basically just trying to cut out a good amount of clay at first, rather than going super slow, because I know I need to get that down. So when I was talking about in the trimming video when I did the mug earlier, about how on wider surface areas you want to try and have either a center ring here so that it doesn't droop, or make sure you have enough area here so if it does droop it doesn't kiss the shelf. This foot ring isn't necessarily wide enough that I feel like it's going to be an issue for it to slump. The other way that you can prevent this is to kind of keep it in a slight dome. But again, you need to have this foot ring be deep enough so that it'll accommodate for this being lower. So I am going to have a slight dome to this. The center point is going to be ever so slightly lower than the sides, and the reason for that is visually it kind of continues this line of a bowl shape. So whatever the line on the side is, it's almost like you want to continue that all the way across through the foot. So right now, this is about the same, maybe slightly lower than it is in here, but I don't want to cut any more from the side. I want to cut in. So I'm going to switch to this little triangle tool. In South Carolina, with that long, some whistle blow. Going much slower now because I'm trying to cut off that line that's there, because I'm not going to mess too much more with the outside of this bowl, and I want it to be nice and smooth so when I do transfers on the outside, it's got a really nice surface to do so on. Of course, that doesn't help when you get clay stuck to the outside. Alright, now do you see that undercut, which kind of more like lines up to this here? I'm going to switch you to the other cam, I think, for a minute so you can kind of see what I'm going to do on the top now. So next I'm going to just make a little angle here. Make sure that foot looks like it is a separate piece from the bowl. This is not functionally necessary. I just think that it looks aesthetically a little better if it doesn't blend. Lord, I'm in Georgia doing time. Alright, so I got that line there. Now I want to make sure I round that out, blend it into the rest of the foot. Here we go.